Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%, APR 4.08%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. Pay 1.25% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Get access to over 1,600 hours of commercial-free content by supporting the show at patreon.com/David C. Smalley. What you're about to hear may upset you or make you laugh or both. But most importantly, it will make you think. From Los Angeles, California, this is Dogma Debate with David Smalley.
Welcome to Dogma Debate. I am so excited to bring this one to you. A lot of times on this show, I sit across from a pastor or a preacher or someone who has some sort of extreme view sometimes, right? Every now and then we find people who go, I'm kind of on the fence about this or that. The point of the show tends to be about religious debates. What's your worldview? Here's my worldview. Let's have a respectful dialogue about that and our differences. And a lot of times people are like, why do you spend so much time trying to change someone's mind? It's really not always about the person across from me. Sometimes it is, and I usually say it when it is. But other times, and most of the time I would say, it tends to be about inspiring other people to have these types of conversations. Now, some people go to that next level and start their own podcast, which is such an honor for me when they send me a message and go, hey, here's my show. I started it because Dogma Debate inspired me. That's awesome. But a lot of what I do on this show is debating or asking someone for evidence and then they don't have the evidence or they present me with a problem and it's very contentious. And a lot of people are right when they go, David, you're just pulling someone's religion away from them. What's wrong with you? Why do you want to pull someone's religion away? If that helps them get through the day, why does it matter? The next episode of this show, I'm sitting down with a man named Louis Sabatasso, and we get deep into those woods. He considers himself spiritual, but not religious, a man of God, but not a man of the Bible. And we're going to get into why I care so much. But for this episode, it's answering the first part of that question. If I just pull someone's religion away, or I talk them out of their belief for whatever reason, because I'm like, I think this is a bad belief and I don't think you have evidence for it, so you shouldn't believe it. Do you think I just turn and walk away? Do I just say, okay, now that I've challenged your belief, good luck with life, loser? No, it's not at all what I do. I want to provide other motivation, other inspiration. Because see, the reason people hold on so tightly to their religion, it's not necessarily because of the belief itself. It's because it provides so much structure in their lives. And this is what I need atheists to understand. When you are arguing with your family member or your friend or your coworker about religion, you, in your mind, are arguing against the things that they don't have evidence for. And most of the time, they know they don't have evidence for that, but they feel like you're trying to take away their structure, their community, their reason to be a good person. So, as an atheist, when you're arguing with people, what are you going to replace that with? I was a manager for years, and I would get so irritated when people would walk into my office just to tell me a problem. When you approach your manager with a problem, at least have some idea of a solution. And I think a lot of atheists are irresponsible and just fighting with their family members, pointing out the holes in the belief system and leaving it at that. Which is why a lot of times I try to bring something up positive. What can we do is there something better than that religion we can replace it with? Is there a better ideology? Is there a better thought process? That's what today's show is about. Now, my guest is by no means making a claim that his worldview is superior. None of that. Absolutely none of that. But after talking with my guest, I realized that the way he has built his life and built his career is one of motivation, ambition, and treating people with love and respect. And most people who are religious will tell you they are that way because of their religion. And I don't think they are. I think they are that way because most humans have this innate desire to connect socially because of evolution and compassion. So today is a blueprint for living your life, for being motivated to be successful, and doing so with maybe some version of spiritualism or maybe some connection to something greater that's in your world, but doing so and controlling your own destiny. And my guest today is living proof that that can work. So for anyone out there who's just holding on to their religion because it when they pray, it makes them feel better. When they feel like God is in control of their lives. They're praying to get that job and sitting on the couch until it happens. They're praying to be able to make rent at the end at the beginning of the month because they don't know how they're going to be able to do it. Pay attention to this episode. This episode could change the way you think about the level of control you have in your own life. My guest today is UFC announcer Bruce Buffer, who's recently become a friend of mine. He is so interested in stand-up comedy and voice work, and we have so much in common, and I'm happy to call this man a friend now. And we went to his home, my producer Corey and I went to his home, and we sat at his dining table and had this conversation. So you are about to hear my conversation with the one and only Bruce Buffer. I want to let you know real quick that I will be in Fresno October 21st and 22nd at De Chico's in Old Town Clovis. I would love to see you out there. It's a free comedy show both nights. Show up, have a good time. I'm at the Comedy Store right before that, Saturday, October 19th in Hollywood. Come out and enjoy that. And I'm going to be in Kansas City in November. Go to davidcsmalley.com for dates and tickets. I'm so excited to be joining Emery back on the road doing stand-up comedy in Kansas. This is going to be a great time. Also, I want to take a quick moment to thank some people who have gone over to patreon.com/davidcsmalley to support the show. Ricky Eaton, Kyle Helm, System Encephaly. That's how I'm going to say it. You put weird stuff in your name. That's how I'm going to say it. I don't know what else to say to you. And then this next name is one that I had an argument with Isaac over when we were on a road trip doing comedy. I'm going to say Tanya Meldrum. Thank you, Tanya, for coming. Now, Isaac says every time it has an A after the T, it should be Tanya. Now, I came from Texas. And in Texas, we had Tanya was TonyA and Tanya was Tanya. And I knew people with both spellings, and the Tanyas spelled it with an A and the Tanyas spelled it with an O. So Tanya Meldrum, please tell me how to pronounce your name. And anybody else who wants to weigh in on the Tanya controversy to mostly prove me right and Isaac wrong, let me know. Huge thank you to Dale Penn, Lauren Stevenson, and Dan Schmidt. Thank you all so much for going over to patreon.com/davidcsmalley and supporting the show. I have some more folks I'm going to be mentioning. I'm going to try to remember to do it every episode, but it's hard to fit all of this information in on top of my sponsors and reads and everything else. But I really want to show you guys how much I appreciate your support, and I love you for keeping this show going. To join that group and have your name mentioned on air, that is a possibility at patreon.com/davidcsmalley. Now, sit back and relax and enjoy this very inspiring conversation with the one and only Bruce Buffer.
This winter, fly Minneapolis-St. Paul to Ireland with Aer Lingus. Fly direct to Dublin and enjoy Ireland's warm hospitality, incredible food, history and culture. Smart says fill your heart with Ireland. Smart flies Aer Lingus. Book now at airlingus.com.
Finding the right pros for home projects can be tough and spark a lot of questions like, how do I find a pro who can help? Will they do a good job? Will I get a fair price? That's where HomeAdvisor can help. From leaky faucets to major remodels, HomeAdvisor connects you to the right pro for the job in seconds and even helps you get a fair price. Read reviews, check project cost guides, and book appointments. Go to HomeAdvisor.com or download the free HomeAdvisor app to start your next project.
I am honored today to be hanging out with a brand new friend of mine, the one and only Bruce Buffer.
Hi, David. How are you?
Hey, man. Thanks for doing this. I know you're a busy guy, and we briefly met and said we wanted to do this, and I thought, it's that LA thing. Yeah, we'll link up later. Yeah. You never know if it's really going to happen, so it's great that you're able to actually sit here and talk with me.
I live in LA, but I'm very non-LA. When I say it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And if there's in LA, when people go from one point to the next point, they seem to walk around in circles. I like going in a straight line and just getting it done.
Yeah, for sure. And your career is a testament to that. I mean, the stuff that you've been able to accomplish is just ridiculous. So let's jump right into that.
Sure, go for it.
You know, my show a lot has to do with religion. I know you've listened to the podcast before, so we'll definitely get into that. But I want to talk about you and for the three people listening who don't know who you are, let's bring that to the light. So obviously, you're most known for being the UFC announcer, right? How long ago did that start? Because I remember you from a long time ago.
Yeah, I basically, it's kind of a story behind it because we'll touch on it too, but my brother's the legendary boxing announcer, sports entertainment announcer named Michael Buffer, known for the phrase, let's get ready to rumble, which I can say because I'm the sheriff behind the man behind the rumble. So I foresee and watch over his entire career, and I manage the brand and everything else. And with that being said, I started managing Michael some 27 years ago, and that was only 4 years after we met because we never knew each other existed. We grew up as long-lost half-brothers. And when Michael came out on TV in the 80s doing Mike Tyson, when Mike Tyson was getting huge, and as a result, boxing was going to the forefront, became the water cooler conversation on a Monday, like the UFC is today. Michael was as popular and is as popular, if not more popular, than most of the boxers. For his looks, his 007, image, and the way he announced and everything. And he changed the whole world of announcing. And when I looked at the screen, they chironed his name on and said Michael Buffer. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Right? And I'm like, wait a minute.
Wait, so you first saw him on television TV, and you didn't even know he was your brother?
Idea. None. My dad never told me about him. And I'll go into that in a second, but I'll give you the brief description here. My companies at the time, in my 20s, I owned telemarketing companies. And at the time before the internet came around, the salesman worked out of phone books, right, or leads. But for the most part, we had a phone book of every city in the United States. And it was natural back then for most people to look up their name in the city they live in and see if there's anybody else with the same name. Well, I did that out of habit. I never saw the name Buffer in any phone book ever. So then when he came on screen and there's his name, Michael Buffer, chiron on the screen, something went off in my head and in my gut. And I'm like, what the hell is this all about? Right? I mean, he's kind of pretty boy, and I'm like, some people say I'm handsome with scars, but I mean, could this guy be my brother? I have no idea. Is he a relative? So people started coming up to me and saying, is that your brother, Michael Buffer, the guy that goes, let's get ready to rumble? And I'm like, no, my brother's Brian, who I've grown up with my whole life. I don't know who this guy is. So after about 6 months of this, and it got really, really big when he started getting very popular, I went to my dad and we're driving up to Northern California, and I'm in the car with him, and I said, Dad, I'm going through this, and I'm wondering who this guy is. Do you know? And he looked at me, and he turned, and he says, I think that's your brother. And I'm like, what? I'm 28 years old, 29 years old. I'm like, what are you talking about, Dad? You've been married to Mom, for 35, 37 years. And he said, well, I never told you, son. During World War II, I was married briefly. I was 20 years old. Went overseas. A child was born, came back. His name was Michael. And last saw him when he was 2.5. So I have a feeling that's him. And I said, really? And I said, wow.
That's heavy.
Heavy. Yeah. So then I started phoning up, Don King's offices, Bob Aaron's offices, and trying to get information. When suddenly what happened is that Michael was doing a small event out here in the Valley called a special club. It was actually the club where in the